Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships. As today we are checking out the Tier 10 French Special Premium Research Bureau Cruiser, the Colbert. And she is a ton of fun to play. And if you caught yesterday's highlight feature, I posed the question, is Colbert worth it? So whether or not this is a ship that you would want to grind for yourself, and grinding research points for the research bureau. If you're a newer player, you're not going to have access to that, but it takes a little bit before you get access to it. Or if it's just not for you, because this is a very high skill floor ship in my opinion, but has some of the, I think, the best HE and AP DPM in the game. So we're going to be doing upgrade commander build video, so we're going to look at the overview of the ship, the armor layout, the modules, upgrades, and of course the commander, which we have at 21 points. So first off, what is the play style of the Colbert? Is it a brawling cruiser with secondaries? Is it a sniper cruiser, or is it a mid-range cruiser? And the Colbert is definitely a mid-range cruiser. And you can find yourself, of course, if you don't have any hard cover or smokescreen to use, to be open gunboating, kind of trying to utilize some range. Granted, you start off with a very lackluster range unless you build for it in between the commander or your upgrades. So we'll talk about that. So she's mid-range, and she's definitely scary for destroyers who get caught out by the Colbert, because you do have decent concealments. It's like 9, 8. And your smoke fire penalty is, I think, 6 kilometers? No, it's 5.7, I think. Yeah, 5.6. So, kind of edgy with these 127mm guns. So, let's look at the armor. So, you are definitely squishy on your 16 millimeter bow and stern, not to mention the deck as well. So, definitely, if you're a destroyer and you see a Colbert and you want to be using definitely HE, whether it's on the bow or stern, which honestly you want to go for the bow because it's larger. The superstructure, which is just 13 millimeter. And then if you have AP, then you can be shooting this plating here on the side of the upper deck. But then you're going to get a lot of HE shatters and even possibly some AP shatters, depending on your caliber of gun. If you're a light or destroyer or something like that. Along the armor belts and the Citadel armor, because it goes from 21 to 50 to 80. And I just realized in the video I said that it had 30, and that is a definite mistake. I'm going to have to correct that on and pin a comment. Should have hopped into the game. I was thinking it was correct with the source that I had looked at, so my bad. So if you utilize this belt armor well enough, you can bounce the Yamato shells. Now you're definitely going to eat it through here or here and like literally just get wrecked as we look at this very big juicy Citadel. So do be mindful of that, because even your deck armor and plating, 16 millimeter to 50 millimeter to 10 millimeter, it's not going to drop. You can definitely get wrecked by a battleship lobbing a shell that goes right through your deck. So you really want to be able to utilize your belt if you can be situation and circumstances are working in your favor. So in terms of the modules, you have these 127mm guns, reload time of 3.4 seconds with the build we have. 180-degree turn time, 5 seconds, so very fast turret turning traverse, way faster than Shimikazes for sure. Not that these ships can be really compared, I just think it's rather ironic. Maximum HE shell damage 2100 and AP shell damage 2600. So we'll check out our commander here in a little bit on that too. The hull is 40,600 because I took survivability expert on the commander to bump it up from, it's like 36,000 something. So I do recommend running survivability expert on Colbert to give you a larger health pool since she's a light cruiser. And you can see the armor goes max 10 to 80 millimeters, 8 main turrets, so 16 guns and 18 AA mounts. The gunfire control system, if I remember correctly, starting off is only 13.8. For the purposes of this video, I will demount. Yeah, 13.8. So that is very, very lackluster, as I was unsure in my memory of it in yesterday's game. So you definitely want to be taking something for range. So definitely going to be running the gunfire system modification too, so we can get the range up to 16 kilometers. I don't really think you need to try to fish for anything longer than 16 kilometers because the shell speed and velocity and the arcs, it's going to be very hard to land shells accurately on targets at a long distance. So just be mindful of that. Propulsion, 33 knots, 87,000 horsepower. If we take the Sierra Mike flag, it's going to boost us up to 34.7. And we get the 20% engine boost here on the Colbert, which is really nice in my opinion. So if we take that 34.7 times that 20%, you're adding almost 7 knots onto this. So I can go plus 6.94, 41.64 knots. So very nice, especially when you find yourself out in this open and you're trying to speed juke or open gunboat. Having the Sierra Mike flag and having the engine boost going is really nice. So in terms of the upgrades, for the first, we are running the main armaments modification 1. This reduces the risk of our main battery becoming incapacitated by negative 20%, main battery survivability plus 50%, main battery repair time negative 20%. Because it has so many guns, I mean, they're not very strong in terms of armor. I mean, these are 10 millimeter coating of your guns. Like, these can definitely be knocked out if you have players who are purposely aiming for them, of course. So it really, honestly, I don't know how much this actually helps, but it's better than nothing in my opinion, because you are such a HE, AP, DPM monster with these guns. So that's why I like running the main armaments modification 1. You don't have any secondaries. Yeah, I'm correct in that. You don't have any secondaries, so I don't really see a need for the auxiliary armaments modification 1. Then you'd only be improving your A mount survivability. Magazine modification 1, you don't need that because you can just take Juliet Charlie combat signal, which completely eliminates the risk of your ship's magazine detonating. You don't need damage controlled party. Going to the second slot, if you don't have any coal to buy one of the special upgrades, I'm going to encourage you to pick up the engine room protection for 250,000 credits. Reduces the risk of your engine and steering gears becoming incapacitated by negative 20%, and your repair time for your engine and steering gears, if those should be knocked out, is reduced by negative 20%. Besides that, there's really two winners here in terms of the special upgrades. You can see I'm running the engine boost modification 1. So my engine boost time is literally almost 4 minutes. Like just 4 minutes of engine boost, which is honestly extremely helpful and beneficial in boogieing around the map and dodging incoming fire. So you get a lot of mileage, in my opinion, in running the engine boost. Now, the other one that I'd say is also possible to consider worth taking is the hydroacoustic search modification 1. This would extend your hydroacoustic search action time by plus 20%. Make sure I read that right. Yes, plus 20%. So that means you'd be getting 120 seconds of action time out of your hydro. I honestly just prefer the engine boost. So I get so much longer action time out of the engine boost. And because the French ships, especially the Colbert, running around the map at 41 knots is pretty fun. It makes it very hard and difficult for enemy ships to accurately land salvos on you. So it's kind of a survivability, like defense skill module, like the hydroacoustic search would be as well. But you're pretty maneuverable, agile, so I don't really find it a big deal trying to avoid torpedoes. But if you're running up on a destroyer, then of course the hydroacoustic search modification could come in handy. But you just try to time it right, because you do have a minute 40 seconds with the hydro as is. For the third slot, I'm running the aiming systems modification 1. This is improving your main battery shell dispersion, your maximum vertical dispersion and your maximum horizontal dispersion. So you're getting tighter shell groupings because between the sigma, which is the chances of your shells landing in the center of where you're aiming, and I'm not sure what sigma is on Colbert, I have to look. But the only other way to improve your accuracy is the aiming systems modification 1. So I run it. It's quite nice in my opinion. So the dispersion is the only buff you're getting out of this. Otherwise, you have main battery modification 2, but why would you need to run that when your main battery traverse speed already is 180 degree turn time of 5 seconds, right? So there's no need to run this. The other one is for debates, the AA guns modification 1. Priority AA sector preparation time reduced by negative 20%. And honestly, you're not going to get any use out of this, particularly if there's no aircraft, no CVs in the game. But they're becoming increasingly more visible because now we're getting more hybrid battleships, like the new US hybrid battleship line as an example. So you're going to be seeing a lot of those, especially when they come out of early access, Nebraska, Delaware, and Louisiana. So honestly, I just like running the aiming systems modification 1 because again, I'm building into the guns, and this ship is all about the guns. For the 4th slot, I recommend taking propulsion modification 1, time taken to reach full engine power when accelerating, negative 50%. So this has saved me many times, especially if, let's say, a big nasty battleship catches you sitting still or going slow, then you can simply juke the salvo or cut your throttle, and that really helps, and then accelerate again. So this really helps reduce taking any damage. And you saw me doing this yesterday. I completely avoided, I think it was a St. Vincent, and maybe a Yamato salvo. I avoided just because I speed juked. So this is really what you want to run, in my opinion. If you don't like propulsion, then you could consider the steering gears modification 1, rudder shift time negative 20%. When we look at the maneuverability, you have a really nice turning circle radius of 620 meters. Rudder shift time is 9.2 seconds. So to me, it's just, they're decent. I don't, especially the turning circle radius, I don't really see a need for this. So I personally run propulsion modification 1. I don't recommend airstrike or damage control system modification 2 here on the Colbert. In terms of the 5th slot, there's 2 options. One is the concealment system modification 1. This reduces your ship's detectability range, squadron detectability range, and dispersion of shells fired by enemies attacking your ship, plus 5%. So 9.8 kilometers is my current concealment by sea. By air, it's 6 kilometers. So I've opted to go for the conceal build on the Colbert. I think that is what most players are going to probably want to run on the Colbert. The other option is increasing the high skill floor of the ship that's already a high skill floor, and that would be the steering gears modification 2, rudder shift time negative 40%, steering gears repair time negative 80%. So this is definitely throwing away your concealment, more so. You'd be back up to, I'm guessing, around 11 kilometers, which isn't terrible. But at the expense of that, you foresee yourself being more out in the open, gunboating kind of characteristics. So you could take this. I would still run propulsion modification and still run the aiming systems mod. So it really comes down to you, but honestly, I think majority of Colbert players who like and enjoy this ship and are going to find it more easier to utilize is the concealment system modification 1, especially when you're disengaging or you want to get close and surprise that enemy destroyer that you know is somewhere nearby, and preventing them from being able to run away from you. For the 6th slot, it's pretty much you have to take the gunfire control system modification 2. Main battery firing range plus 16%. So this is what's getting us from the 13.8 to the 16 kilometers we currently have. It's really difficult to play this ship at 13.8 kilometers. Just because you're going to be constantly wishing for more range, and you're going to have these ships that are constantly outside of your range, and so that's going to decrease your DPM performance. Unless you are just like the king of positioning and getting in close, utilizing islands, you're divvying up with friendlies and their smoke screens. and disable the dumpster, right? Again, it's harder to make the main battery modification 3 work. It's not impossible, but it's a lot more difficult to pull this off effectively because of how much it reduces your range when you're in the meta of tier 10 and you have a lot of these big ships, right? Big ships with big guns that go boom and make you explode. And if you have a further range back away from them, that significantly improves your odds of survivability. Because I think if you watch yesterday's video, several ships I killed in both battles on Tears of the Desert and Ocean, so Ocean, let alone Tears of the Cruisers map, we killed several targets at the range, almost the max range with these guns. So something to consider: auxiliary armaments modification 2. This is more for an AA build because you don't have secondaries on the ship. Colbert, I talked yesterday, her AA is good. It's not great in my opinion. The rating we have now with the current build is 85. When we look at the AA defense, continuous damage 374, damage by shell explosions 1680, and then you can see medium range is 424, long range AA is 147. Apparently there's not even a short range AA factor in here. So when you're going up against tier 10 CVs, your AA is something still to be desired. I mean, we can boost it up to 87 just by taking the AA combat signal. But if you're going to be doing AA build cruisers, then I would say Minotaur, because Minotaur already I have a 98. What about Worcester? Worcester's at 92. So Colbert is not the AA build cruiser. Granted, you do have access to defensive AA, but I think you can actually... Can you take that on... No, you can on Worcester gets it though. So yeah. So just... I don't recommend it. I don't think I really need to talk about... Well, yeah, let's talk about the armament real quick. So, 3.4 second reload time with the current build. 2100 HE shell damage. Armor penetration capacity, 21 millimeters. 7% fire chance. We can, of course, increase that. I run both the Victor Lima and the India X-Ray to boost us up to an 8% chance of starting fires on target. It's easy. It's possible to get Witherer's Arsonist with Colbert. Even though it seems low fire chance, I mean, you're pumping out, if you get able to get all guns on target, you're firing 16 shells, like, every 3.4 seconds. That's kind of maddening. So you are pretty much guaranteed to fire at some point. It's just a matter of when. AP, don't sleep on the AP, especially if you catch out maybe certain cruisers broadside like the Venezia did yesterday. It does really well. And then you have your HE depth charge, your just depth charge airstrike for anti-submarine warfare with a maximum range of 8 kilometers and a reload of 30 seconds. And you get one plane in 2 flights. One plane per flight is what I'm trying to say. In terms of consumables, you have your standard damage control party for a cruiser, 5-second action time, reload time of 60 seconds. You have what I've built into the consumables. So I'm getting an additional repair party. So 5. HP per second is 267, but if we take the India Delta, we bump that up to 321. I've gotten dreadnoughts in Colbert. You saw yesterday I got a dreadnought in Colbert. And that video again will be linked at the end of this video clip. So definitely worth taking the India Delta combat signal. Action time 20 seconds, reload time 80 seconds, and then you can shorten that by taking the November Foxtrot to 76. Engine boost, definitely very good stuff, especially because it's the plus 20%. I think it's either you get 8%, or if I'm thinking correctly, the next one up is 15%, and you get 20%, and then you get something like the Ragnar, which is like crazy fast, plus 30%. So that's why I've elected to build into it in the second slot, just because it's really good and getting you up over 41 knots. Action time, we have almost 4 minutes. Reload time, 90 seconds. Again, we can shorten that to 85.5 with the November Foxtrot. You get two options for the other slots, being the hydroacoustic search, which we're running, detection of torpedoes 3.5 kilometers, detection of ships 5 kilometers. So this actually works quite well, especially if you're dealing with those pesky submarines that are becoming more relevant in the game, or you want to deal with that destroyer and that smoke screen not so far away from you. Or you're pushing in and you know there's a destroyer who's been firing torpedoes at you, and you're increasing your chances of being able to simply dodge them because you have the hydroacoustic search activated with a current 1 minute 40 second action time, with a reload time of 120 seconds, which again we can shorten to 114 seconds with November Foxtrot. The other is the defensive AA fire consumable, which boosts your continuous damage plus 50%, shell explosion damage plus 300%, action time 40 seconds, reload time 76 seconds with November Foxtrot, 80 seconds without. Again, I've just not been impressed overall with the AA of Colbert. Very good against, or decently good against tier 8 CVs, but tier 10 CVs you are going to be wishing for Minotaur or Worcester's AA in dealing with them. Even Des Moines AA is better. Or Salem. So it's not so good. You have an engine boost, so you can try to use that to just quote, I say air quotes as you can't see this right now, just dodge CV strikes, but then you might be showing broadside to a cruiser or battleship who's waiting for you to do exactly that. Now in terms of the consumable setup, this is what I run. So I actually take the Sierra Bravo, which extends my hydroacoustic search time to 110 seconds. So we're getting a minute 50 second action time on the hydroacoustic search. So I quite like running that here. Otherwise, you could have a buff to the defensive AA fire consumable reload time. In terms of the commander, this is what we are running. So I'm going to go over a 10-point build first, and then we'll go from there. So first point, I'd recommend taking, let me back up for a brief moment. I'm running the seasoned commander, Charles-Henri Honore. And now I'm spacing where I got him from. We'll look real quick. I think I got him from the Armory. I just did a video on the Marseille last week, and I had this discussion, but I'm sick with the cold or flu right now, so my memory is foggy. So I will give you a correct answer here in just a moment. Yeah, 1500 doubloons. He has 2 enhanced skills. Grease the gears, so main battery traverse speed for a cruiser plus 20%, and adrenaline rush, the negative 0.25% versus the standard negative 0.20%. He's nice to run. Alternatively, you could run the, sorry, I had to hop back. The unique commander, Philippe Abunet, who has an improved survivability expert, so you have a greater health pool talent. And he has several talents that I really want to try out on Colbert once I go ahead and pick him up. I could get him now, but yeah. But he's got some really good skills and talents that we could be putting use on our Colbert. But for now, I have the 21-point Charles-Henri Honore. So I've purposely built into those. I also run this commander on my Marseille, so I wanted to grease the gears, even though the grease the gears is really good already. So first off, last stand. Ship remains partially able to sustain speed and maneuverability with the engine and steering gears incapacitated. I've had my engine and steering gears knocked out a few times. Just because you really like cruiser, it's possible to happen. So having last stand, in my opinion, is really good. In terms of 3 points commander, I run priority target just because it's really helpful in dealing with situational awareness and knowing when you're starting to get hot and heavy, when, in yesterday's video, like 4 ships start targeting me because I've been spotted. So I know I need to go dark, I need to disengage. So that's I think it's helpful to run. I stressed yesterday in answering the question, is Colbert worth it? And so I said yes and no, depends on you as a player. And I said no, if you struggle with situational awareness and map awareness, you're going to struggle playing this ship. So I have priority target on my cruiser build here with the Colbert just to help me out in being able to play this ship more effectively at a high skill floor. So that's why I have it. Also helps knowing when torpedoes from destroyers, when destroyers are flashing you with their torpedoes switching between guns into torpedoes. It goes from 1 to detected, 1 to detected, so then I know, hey, torpedoes are probably on the way. For a 6-point commander, I'd say go ahead and pick up the Adrenaline Rush, because it's just going to increase your DPM performance between your high explosive and armor piercing shells. Not to mention, you know, for us having, particularly if you're running Charles-Henri on row, then yeah, you're going to get a little bit more of a buff. So then your reload time is dropping to 3.3, 3.2, 3.1, 3 seconds here with these 16 guns. Then for a 10-point build, I'd recommend picking up Concealment Expert. I already talked about it, but again, I think for a majority of players who pick up Colbert, which I know isn't many already because it's in the Research Bureau, I think most players will probably benefit out of the Concealment build. Of course, if you do not want to run that, you can give that up and go for more of a quote-unquote lighthouse build. But for myself, I have been really enjoying just running Concealment Experts. Maybe one day I try without it, but for now, I like running it. So that's a 10-point build. For a 13-point build, I would say go ahead and pick up Superintendent. Give yourself that additional engine boost from 3 to 4, from heals 4 to 5, from hydros 3 to 4. So, in my opinion, it's nice to have the additional consumables. So make the use of them. Why not? The ship's kind of built around that. Then for a 16-point build, I would say go ahead and pick up Survivability Expert. Get yourself up to the 40,600 hit points, especially if you're running the unique commander, Philippe Albunier. I'm guessing I'm possibly pronouncing his name incorrectly because it's improved, right? So then that is just increasing your survivability in general. So that's 16-point commander, and then for a 20-point commander, I would say go and pick up Top Grade Gunner. This has the permanent effect of your secondary battery reload time being reduced. It doesn't apply to Colbert, you don't have secondaries on Colbert, but they can be activated skill. It increases main battery reload while an enemy ship is within your ship's standard detectability range. Changes to ship detectability caused by firing main guns, fires on board, and other combat events are not taken into account. Main battery reload time, -8%. Meaning that Top Grade Gunner activates whenever there's a ship 9.8 kilometers or less away from me. So this is another reason why giving up concealments on your ship, whether it be the commander or in the upgrade 5th slot, you can get more use out of the Top Grade Gunner by doing that. However, again, it's up to you as a player. It is a possibility, but for now, I've just been going more with this, and it's been working comfortably for me right now on the ship that is already can be uncomfortable to play just because it's a bit sweaty try hard. And then for the 21 points, I've ran Grease the Gears. Do you need it on Colbert? Honestly, I would say no, because your turret traverse is already so good. Like I said, I kind of run this because of the Marseille. So if I was to say not take grease the gears, I mean, it's either gun feeder, which I mean is honestly, you don't need it because it's a 3.4 second reload time on switching between shell types. Then you're probably looking at incoming fire alerts. So what you could do is you could take incoming fire alert, lets you know when a ship at a distance greater than 4.5 kilometers is fired upon you. Take incoming fire alert, drop priority target, and you could pick up Demolition Expert, increases your chances of causing fires, or you could pick up Focus Fire Training and having a slightly better AA performance out of your ship. So that would be an option. I would say I could see that being comfortable, but for myself, I just sleep a little bit better at night when I'm running priority target on my Colbert. But again, if you take incoming fire alert, you could give that up and do something like that. Now, in terms of other skills here on the ship, as I'm about to wrap this video up, radio location. I don't see the use of running radio location. I know some players really like to on their cruisers. I particularly don't run this because normally I have a good idea of where a destroyer may be, but of course the longer that destroyer goes unspotted, then the more challenging I could have in not knowing where he is. A defense and ASW experts. You could boost your A defense, but again, really would rather you lean towards taking Salem, Worcester, Minotaur, and having this. So I think that's really all I want to else talk about here, because I mean I could run down a rabbit hole. So if you have questions about other skills I didn't mention, just let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you have Colbert and what you like running on Colbert. I know a lot of players in the game don't have this. She's been in the game, I think when I saw correctly, since 2019 or 2020, don't remember now. And she's locked behind the Research Bureau, so until you get access to Research Bureau to purchase the Colbert for 57,000 research points. She is a fun ship to play, but again, as in the video I'm about to tag at the end of this one, you can check that out to see if it would be a ship that you think is worth grinding for you or not. As honestly, it's just going to be up to you as a player. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. Take care.